What does healthy weight mean in children? I'm Zainab, I'm the pharmacist from PillSorted Pharmacy, and I'm gonna review what do clinicians look out for, how do we measure and monitor child growth, and why is it so important? For children, weight is not representative. Because unlike adults, that our height is usually set and we just get heavier and wider, children actually grow. So their height is a very important and constantly changing factor. They can be very different from gender, boys and girls grow very differently. Also, at different ages, their growth pattern is very different as well. So growth is a better way to monitor a child's health than actually weight by itself. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put two growth charts here. These are from the World Health Organization. There's lots of different growth charts available online for free, and they're a good way for you to be able to just be in the know. When we want to create a growth chart, there's different factors that we separate from each other. So for example, a boy's growth chart is very different from a girl's growth chart. We can monitor a baby or a child's weight, we can monitor their height, we can monitor their BMI, and there are graphs on the chart already. Those graphs are the reference from the population. Basically, it means healthy children, healthy boy, healthy girl, from that age will be tracking this trend of weight. Let me give you an example on the boy's height versus age chart. So if a 6-month-old baby measures around 68 centimeters, that will mean he's on the green line, which is the 50th percentile. And what that means is half the boys his age will be shorter than him, half the boys his age will be taller than him. Now, the important thing is this doesn't mean good or bad, this doesn't mean ideal or perfect. It just shows where he is in reference to the other children at this age. Lots of things can affect it, and what we're looking at is as long as he's growing towards his own percentile and he's tracking towards the same curve, that's great. About the growth charts, a child's height can be on a different percentile than a child's weight. So for example, my son was always on a higher height percentile than his weight was. It's perfectly fine. It's okay. That shows that they're probably taller and slimmer. That's okay. These are the important things. Sometimes mommies get a bit obsessed and a bit worried. Blips are quite normal. So one-off noises, as we call them. If a child has got teething going on, has just got recovered from an illness, if they've had a growth spurt, you'll see blips up and down the curve. That's fine, as long as the trend is like that. So moving up and down a centile is perfectly fine as well. That happens, but we'll be looking into big changes. So big changes will need a little bit more further digging deep to see if everything is okay. The other measurement that we do is called the trunk measurement, or the waist to height ratio. So this one's very useful for children in school age. If you measure their waist circumference and measure towards the height and divide the waist measurements to the height, and if it's around half or a little bit less, that's great. It's not something to get too worried about. Children go through different phases and growth spurts. Sometimes they go chubby before they shoot up, but it's something that clinicians might use to measure the excess fat around the middle area. Now, I want to go back to the early life of a baby. The first 2 years of a baby's life are what we call the critical window. And the reason being is it is one of the most important times of a baby's body, because it's developing its energy and appetite regulations, and it has a big outcome through the whole metabolic health of the child. There's lots of different things that can affect it. So some of them can go back to the maternal weight, to the gestational diabetes, that sort of thing. But there's lots of other factors as well. So for example, environmental stress and nutrition have got a huge effect as well. For the babies, feeding is really important, so that's why we want to monitor it more carefully, and it depends on lots of things. So if a child is, for example, premature, if a child has had a good weight at birth, these will entail different follow-ups. But losing weight is another important thing that we check. So example, my daughter, when she was a baby, she kept falling asleep, and I thought, oh, that's great. However, she she was falling asleep too fast and not feeding enough. So she started not gaining weight enough. And then the midwives and the nurses helped me to keep her awake. So I kept playing with her ears or with her toes and tried to keep her awake so that she got back onto the right percentile. Epigenetics is a very important one. So what I mean by epigenetic is the changes that can get transferred from parents, both mother and father, to the next generation, that they can cause different changes. There was an interesting evidence gathered from women who were pregnant during famine times after the World War II in the Netherlands. Those transmissions showed changes that led to increased risk of diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular problems in their children and their grandchildren. Our bodies are amazingly dynamic, so they keep on changing. So if there's not enough nutrition, they'll become super efficient. Then they start storing it much better, and that causes all of those metabolic risks. In a nutshell, for children, we want to make sure that we're tracking their growth, they're growing in the healthy trajectory. For babies, steady weight gain is one of the most important signs of being healthy and feeding well. That's why we monitor it so carefully. But in any case, if you feel that a child or a baby's sleeping pattern, eating pattern, or appetite has changed, it's the time to talk and consult with a healthcare clinician. We're here for you to help as well. So these things happen and we're here to support you. Thank you.